closed doors was they had independent prosecutors who did the work that the House now has to do for itself, made the record. You remember Ken Starr's report.
Right.
I mean, that was voluminous. And so they were able to work on that. So what Ken Starr did was in private. So that's sort of the process now. It's sort of the grand jury process. But there's going to be a lot in the open now, and perhaps the Republicans will have to come around to defending President Trump on content, which is a lot harder.
Ryan, I think there was a feeling at some point that as this impeachment proceedings moved along among the Democrats that, the president would slow down in terms of doing his job and being president. But, here we are, we're dealing with trade issues. It still seems like a lot of stuff is going on. Is that safe to say, or is the White
Clinton impeachment, one of his tactics for fighting back on it was to be seen busy doing his job. And I think that's certainly been the recommendation to the White House, that they stay busy. They're continuing to do stuff that they were already doing. I think they haven't quite done as well as not seeming obsessed with it, because the president's tweets show that he's clearly preoccupied with impeachment. But it's not like they can stop their work to handle this for however many weeks it's going to take.
Well, and June, it's interesting, too, to think about how you do mount a legal defense here. And I do recall, and obviously you would know it much better than I, but going back to Clinton, who was clearly not always the most sort of buttoned down when it came to just about anything. But when you think about that legal defense, it was a very rigorous, well-planned defense. We don't get that sense yet from the Trump side.
In fact, Clinton's defense was so rigorous and well-planned that it started well before the hearings with messaging. So he had a messaging, and it was sent out to Democrats, and Democrats did the messaging. Here you just have President Trump doing the messaging, and you have at times Republicans not knowing exactly, though I did notice a little bit of a change in the messaging of Republicans today. They not only argued process, but they started to argue that there's only a year left until an election. Why do this now? Why not have the people decide what happened here? So that's a little bit of a shift.
It's like
they sort of argued that.
Go ahead.
They argued that about a Supreme Court seat as well. So I guess if 1/4 of the time we're just not going to do stuff because it's an election year, then there's a lot of stuff we're not going to get done.
Then we'd really not get anything done.
You and I are very much on the same page, Ryan. As you were saying that, I just said, that's the Merrick Garland argument. Great stuff from both of you. Great team. Ryan Teague Beckwith, political reporter for Bloomberg, joining us from the nation's capital. And June Grasso, we love Junie, legal analyst and host of Bloomberg Law right here in New York City.
So from Washington politics to UK politics we go. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Brexit and what comes next, and really, more importantly, how it's in fact impacting various industries, including the real estate industry. So we'll get into that next. That's coming up on Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Trade war worries have resurfaced. Stocks are trading lower. China is expressing doubts about the prospects for a long-term trade deal. The Dow Jones Industrials are down 228 points, 0.8% to 26,958. The Nasdaq is down 37 points, nearly 0.5%. The S&P 500 is down 19 points, or 0.6%. Apple shares are up nearly 2%. The iPhone maker is drawing praise for its latest quarterly results. Analysts say there were no blemishes in the report. The government reports consumer spending increased 0.2% last month. That trailed forecasts, and it suggests people may have turned a little more cautious. Another report says 218,000 workers filed new applications for unemployment benefits last week, 5,000 more than the prior week, and that was a bigger than expected increase. Crude oil futures are down 1 1/3%. Jeff Bellinger, Bloomberg Radio.
Hi, I'm your host, Smokey Cole Bear, filling in for Smokey, because after 75 years of...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Turns out there's much more to say. Nearly 90% of wildfires are caused by us humans being careless, dumping our used barbecue coals willy-nilly. Guess the song was wrong. We did start the fire. That's why I respect Mother Nature and her trees, whether coniferous or new car scented. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/.
It's another Thursday evening. Yet another cold day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick and enjoy stunning white sand and crystal blue sea. Fly from London Gatwick to the Maldives with British Airways from £300 each way based on a return fare. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun with British Airways. Incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
Hey, it's me again, the TV. Since my family gave me Now TV, there's no more endlessly searching for something they want to watch, because now I don't do filler TV, just killer TV. If my family want dramas, I've got all the big shows from Sky Atlantic. Documentaries, I've got ones about space, sharks, or superstars. Or how about football? I've got the Premier League. Now they can watch whatever they're in the mood for.
What's your TV got for you tonight? Now TV. 18 plus, month passes auto renew, terms apply.
You're a small business owner and there's nothing small about what you do. That's why Dell Small Business Technology Advisors give you trusted advice and tailored tech solutions, like computers with Intel Core processors, servers, storage and networking, plus industry-leading monitors and software. No matter your technology needs, Dell is here to help your small business do big things. Call 0800 085 4878 to speak with an advisor today. That's 0800 085 4878.
Hey NFL fans, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you have unlimited access to every team and every game in the league. Listen live as it happens or on demand. Anytime, anywhere. All season long. Search NFL today.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right? Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
College football is live on TuneIn. Listen for free to games from more than 140 schools all season long.
To the 10, all the way to the checkerboard. Somebody stays on his feet.
It is the annual Florida-Georgia College Football Showdown. This year, there are more than just bragging rights on the line. With both teams ranked in the top 10, will it be the Gators or Bulldogs leaving Jacksonville on top of the SEC East and in the driver's seat for the conference championship? Find out this Saturday with kickoff starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Search college football to listen.
ESPN Radio and TuneIn just go hand in hand. Hi, this is Mel Kiper Jr. reminding you that all of your favorite ESPN Radio shows and events are right here on TuneIn. Just search ESPN Radio to begin enjoying it today.
Far wing, elevates, triple bucket.
The war of the crowd. The shot clock ticks down. Will the ball go in? The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. And the replays just don't cut
it.
The
sideline, the man fleet for three.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season streaming live, so you can be there when it matters most. Hear it now, hear it live on TuneIn.
Pump fake in the lane, turnaround jumper from 8 feet is good on the
Search
right
NBA today to start listening.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
So Brexit and trade. We talk a lot about it, but let's talk about what the impact is going to be. We're going to have that conversation coming coming up next. When it comes to Brexit on the global real estate market, also a check-in with Sean Donnan. He's got a scoop on where the trade war may or may not go from here. First, let's get to Charlie Pellet. He's got an update on the trading day. Hey, Charlie.
Thank you very much, Jason Kelly. All about renewed concerns on trade. That is rattling markets today. Also, some weak manufacturing data. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ are all declining. Right now, the S&P down 17 to 3,029. That's a drop of 0.6%. The Dow down 218 points, lower by 0.8%. NASDAQ down 35, a drop right now of 0.4%. 10-year up 25-30 seconds, the yield 1.68%. So it is a down day for U.S. equities, but Apple shares, they are advancing after last night's earnings report. Right now we've got Apple up by 1.7%. Multiple analysts raising their price targets. Shannon Cross is co-founder of Cross Research. She's got a buy rating on the stock, and she told us along with a $280 price target.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is how the ecosystem's working and driving revenue growth, even if iPhone was under pressure, which is something we've seen for a while just in terms of top line. But clearly, things are improving there, and services revenue reaccelerated to up 18% year over year. And they talked about growth, sort of across the board, both geographically as well as within the various segments and services.
And also after earnings, Facebook shares, they are up now by 2.2%. Google says its confidential business information is at risk in the nationwide antitrust probe of the company because the Texas Attorney General's office, which is leading the investigation, hired 2 consultants that have worked for Google adversaries. Alphabet, parent of Google, slumping 0.5%. We've got the 10-year up 25-30 seconds, yield 1.68%. Gold up 1.1%, 15.12 the ounce, and West Texas Intermediate crude down 1.5%. Recapping, stocks lower, S&P slumping 17, down 0.6%. I'm Charlie Pelleton. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks a lot. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
Delay, another general election in the UK. Not easy being a business trying to navigate the UK and European markets. Here with what it means when it comes to global real estate, Jonathan Goldstein. He's Chief Executive Officer of Kane International, based in London. He joins us on the phone in New York. So delighted to have you with us. Tell us a little bit about how you read the tea leaves when it comes to Brexit.
Well, Brexit. Hi, Carol. Brexit is the gift for English people, British people, that keeps on giving.
Yes, it is.
And we've been at battle on this for years now. And the truth is that this phrase that Brexit will be done by the 31st of October has proved to be false. But the real truth is that the trade arrangements with the European Union and the rest of the world are so far away from having even been contemplated by the British government that even if we manage to leave the European Union by the end of January, which is the new deadline, we've got years and years of this noise and painful debate to go through because there is no strategy. No British political party has any strategy in real terms about how to engage with the rest of the world and what vision they have for Britain going forward. And that is a very, very disappointing situation to be in.
And so at the same time, Jonathan, you have investors, you have consumers, businesses, all having to make decisions about their individual businesses, all having to make decisions about their own geography in many ways. What are you seeing so far, especially because, as you say, we're sort of used to the delays, but you can't delay forever. So what do you do?
No, but I think you're seeing a number of narratives. First of all, you have to say that London stands alone. London stands alone because of the very many advantages and the positions it has as a global city. London will be fine throughout the whole of this scenario.
Yeah.
We are seeing, however, a number of secondary cities in Europe, be it Dublin, be it Warsaw, picking up businesses, picking up occupational space because people are taking a hedge and are looking for optionality in the marketplace. So I think that you have to distill between the major cities and the rest of the country. And I think what we are seeing is that people are putting their investment decisions largely on hold in Britain, waiting for this mess to be cleaned up. If you look at investment volumes into Britain in real estate, for example, over the course of the last 12 months, down about 40%. So I think we're really seeing people go on hold, and we're having a political class who seem to want to go off on their own in their own very merry way and detach themselves from the reality of day-to-day trading and day-to-day businesses, which unfortunately is going to hurt the population at the end of the day.
So, Jonathan, does this mean, as someone, in the real estate space, that you are looking to develop more properties outside of the UK? Is that where you see the opportunities as a result, specifically of Brexit? Yeah. I mean, post the Brexit referendum in 2016, and between 14 and 16, we built up thousands of residential units in London, office developments, etc. But after 16, we diversified. We went into Spain, we went into Ireland, we went into Poland, because we saw stability and we saw the options and the possibility of growth. And I'm afraid that decision has been proved to be right, and I say that as a British person, because obviously we're back at the end of 2019 and we still don't have clarity. And I think I need to make the point to you again. Yeah.
Even if we approve the withdrawal agreement, which Boris Johnson has now brought to the table, put aside the fact that it's probably worse than the withdrawal agreement that Theresa May put forward, put that aside, we have zero clarity on the nature of our trading relationship with our largest trading partner going forward. During the course of 2018, we traded almost $250 billion with the European Union. Our next largest trading partner was the USA in $60-odd billion. And then the sum of the next 10 don't get anywhere near the volume of our trade with the European Union. So what's going to happen is we're going to pass the withdrawal agreement at some point in time, I believe. But then we've got 2 years of eternal debate about what is the nature of our trading relationship with our largest trading partner. And that's a desperate position to be in.
Right. Well, and you have the President of the United States essentially saying, I believe I read a headline a little bit ago, essentially saying, I'm not sure I'm really ready to negotiate a trade deal with the UK, with Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister. So it only gets more and more complicated. Jonathan Goldstein, CEO of Kane International, he joined us on the phone from New York City.
I caught up with Jonathan. He was part of a panel I did at Milken Institute. It was all about real estate and global leaders. And it was, a really wonderful conversation. And we also got into, a big topic of affordable housing. Yes. That was one of the things I remember you and I talking about it afterwards, that I was kind of surprised that that's where it went. But love Jonathan's insight.
And it'll be interesting to bring that element to a conversation we're having later in the show toward the end about Habitat for Humanity, because clearly affordability very much on the minds of folks here in big cities like New York, in London as well, even with some of that pullback that Jonathan described in the Brexit drama.
So impeachment, certainly an issue, Brexit an issue, and so is U.S.-China trade. That's our next topic. That's coming up next.
First, let's get to Bob Moon. He's got your world national headlines. Hey, Bob.
Jason, the House voted today to lay out ground rules for the impeachment inquiry as it enters its public phase. The vote fell straight along party lines, except for two.
Shouldn't have happened. It's a tainted process that Adam Schiff's been conducting, that Nadler might one day conduct. The House deserves better. The people of this country deserve better.
But Democrat Richard Engel says Republicans want to ignore serious wrongdoing by the president.
The administration's abuse of power resulted in our foreign policy being subverted and our diplomats being smeared, sidelined, and harassed.
Engel contends the outlook for the president is grim. What about the seniors when the power is intentionally cut off for days in California? Governor Gavin Newsom visited elderly residents in Napa Valley and said he recognizes losing power can be a health hazard for those who depend on medical devices, and he promises the way utilities are managing fire risk is going to change.
This is not the new normal. This cannot take 10 years to resolve. We will hold them accountable.
It's not just unpowered medical devices putting people at risk. Disabled seniors at a low-income apartment complex north of San Francisco were trapped in total darkness. Some were injured when they fell and tripped over others in stairwells. Others got disoriented even in their own apartments and cried out for help. Elected officials and PGE customers have complained bitterly over the utility's lack of communication and inability to provide real-time estimates of when the power would come back on. Global News 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok, on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Bob Moon.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us number 1 in client support, number 1 in firm leadership, number 1 in operational support, number 1 in compensation, number 1 in professional development support, and number 1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Startups and research universities like New Jersey Institute of Technology are fueling the innovation economy. And few people are better positioned to see what's on the horizon in New Jersey than physicist and state representative Andrew Zwicker.
How technology is transforming our financial sector is revolutionary, and so much of that is in New Jersey. We are innovators when it comes to agriculture, and there is opportunity now for great transformation in how are we going to grow food in an ever-growing population, and how do we turn urban centers into agricultural centers. Autonomous vehicles is another one where we have some of the world's leading experts, and how this will transform how those who are either elderly or are visually impaired or mobily impaired can start to use autonomous vehicles to transform their lives and have access to transportation they could have never had before.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu/research.
It's another Thursday evening, yet another cold day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick and relax with 365 beautiful beaches.
So yes, sir, what would you like to have?
Fly from London Gatwick to Antigua with British Airways from £223 each way based on a return fare. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun with British Airways. Incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
London, switch to Vodafone, the UK's best mobile network, and Be Unlimited, because the best phones deserve the best network and our new unlimited data plans. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Max download speeds apply to unlimited data. Best network as voted by readers of trusted reviews. Terms at vodafone.co.uk/unlimited.
The world's longest wedding dress was longer than the Grand National Racecourse. Think that's big? This Friday, the Euro Millions jackpot is a colossal £69 million. 69 million! Now that's big!
Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Amazing starts here.
Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Hey, it's me again, the TV. Since my family gave me Now TV, there's no more endlessly searching for something they want to watch, because now I don't do filler TV, just killer TV. If my family want horrors, no problem. It's not real, it's not real, it's not real. Dramas, OMG, I've got Chernobyl. Or how about football? I've got the Premier League. Now they can watch whatever they're in the mood for.
What's your TV got for you tonight? Now TV. 18 plus. Month passes auto-renew. Terms apply.
Do you remember picking out your engagement ring in the jeweller's window? Or choosing your first home? Or deciding the names of your children? When it comes to the important choices in life, you've always taken the greatest care. So shouldn't the same go for which firm of funeral directors you use? After all, that's an important choice too. At Dignity Funeral Directors, we're like you. We also take the greatest care. Our name is your assurance we'll be there by your side every step of the way. Just look for the sign that says Dignity. It's on all our branches and on the Dignity website. Dignity Funeral Directors, taking the greatest care.
Hey NFL fans, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you have unlimited access to every team and every game in the league. Listen live as it happens or on demand. Anytime, anywhere. All season long. Search NFL today.
Are you curious what others are listening to on TuneIn? Head to the trending section under Browse to see the most popular stations and podcasts among TuneIn listeners right now. Check it out. You might just discover something new for yourself.
Far wing, elevates, triple bucket.
The war of the crown. The shot clock ticks down. Will the ball go in? The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. And the replays just don't cut
The
it.
sideline, the man fleet for three.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season streaming live, so you can be there when it matters most. Hear it now, hear it live on TuneIn.
Faking the lane, turnaround jumper from 8 feet is good on the
Search
right block.
NBA Today to start listening.
For some, Halloween is a little more serious than candy and costumes. To give your Hallows Eve a truly frightening feeling, turn on Soma FM's special Doom Station to hear a haunting seance of soundscapes made for tortured souls, the living dead, and cursed spirits of the night. Search Doom Special on TuneIn to run a chill down your spine this Halloween.
Breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Bloomberg World Headquarters. I'm Charlie Pellet. Down Thursday, the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all declining. Stocks down the most in 3 weeks. Weak manufacturing data and renewed concern on trade rattling markets this Thursday, with the S&P down 22 points right now at 3,024, a drop of 0.7%. The Dow down 1%, tumbling 263 points. We are very close to the lows of the day. NASDAQ down 45, a drop there of 0.6%. 10 years up 24-30 seconds yield, 1.68%. Gold up 1.1%, $15.12 the ounce. And West Texas Intermediate crude down 1.9% right now, $54.03 a barrel. Burger King discontinuing the Morningstar veggie burger in the U.S. A Morningstar made by Kellogg. Kellogg shares are trading lower now by 1.3%. Recapping, stocks lower, S&P down 22, a drop of 0.7%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Oh no, what's Jason Kelly going to do without that burger?
A fast food place and see if they have different burgers. Maybe made by Beyond Meat.
Beyond Meat, Impossible.
right.
Impossible.
You're
World's my
moving on?
oyster, or
All right.
my,
He's
non-meat
moving on.
burger.
All right, got it.
There you go. Fake oysters. Waiting for that.
No, I want the real thing.
Oysters.
All right, Charlie Pellet, thank you so much. You're listening to Bloomberg Radio.
All right. Well, I'm not sure anybody's sure about much of anything when it comes to U.S.-China trade. One thing we are sure of, Sean Donnan is all over this story. I also feel like we're getting a little bit of Sean Donnan back now that the World Series is over, because at least based on his Twitter feed, he's a pretty big baseball fan. And yet among and amid all of this, he has continued to be a scoop machine. He and Jenny Leonard both all over the trade story. Sean's senior trade reporter for Bloomberg. He joins us from our 99.1 studio in D.C. His latest story with Jenny and Stephen Yang, all about maybe some doubts on the Chinese side about where we go from here in these trade negotiations. Sean, bring us up to date.
Did anyone mention that the Washington Nationals were in the series last night? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, World Series champs. World Series champs. Congrats.
We're talking trade, okay?
Oh, okay. All right. So sorry.
Okay.
Look, we've spent a couple of weeks talking to Chinese officials, people who've been talking to Chinese officials, people out of all of those conversations. And that is that while we, in the coming weeks, will probably get what the president has called phase one of a historic trade agreement with China, it's unlikely from the Chinese perspective that we'll ever get phase two. And that's important because phase one looks like a pretty narrow deal. And we're going to start wondering fairly quickly going into next year and the 2020 election whether this whole trade war was worth it.
But I wonder, is this what they're doing? Is this the tactic from Washington? Just kind of go back and forth? And I know this is China, but I mean, and just be like, we get to a point where like, I don't even want to hear any more about it. I don't even care if you get a deal. Like, I just wonder what the heck is going on.
Yeah, so look, if you go back to 2017, when the Trump administration started talking about taking on China, one of the things that you heard over and over from officials again was, we're not going to be like other administrations. We're not going to let the Chinese wait us out. We're not going to let them play us. Well, a few years on, it looks like the Chinese have been doing exactly that in some ways. There's a lot of concern in this administration that the Chinese are trying to wait out President Trump and hoping for a change of the guard in the White House come next November. And the president's been fairly open publicly about that. And that's why they've always been able to use this method. It's, the other side of it is here in Washington, you talk to a lot of people who've been involved in taking on China over the years, and they all applaud the Trump administration for identifying some legitimate problems, for getting the Chinese to the table, but they also really worry that we may be wasting an opportunity here. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to try and rewrite the relationship with China. Now, the Trump administration insists, and the president was out tweeting again today, that it is doing exactly that, and that this phase one deal is going to be full of substance, and that phase two will follow shortly thereafter. But they need the Chinese to engage, and all the signs that we get from the Chinese is they're not willing to really change their red lines or engage in the same way that the Trump administration wants them to.
Well, and meanwhile, the political calculus, it feels like is only getting more complicated here in the United States, Sean, and even setting aside impeachment for a second, we still don't have USMCA through. You guys have done some great reporting around that as well. So help us understand sort of where it fits priority-wise, because it's not hard to see a situation where there's a little bit of run out the clock, sort of declare victory and run out the clock here, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, look, there's 2 points on the political side. One is Donald Trump needs to prove that this bold, new, pugnacious attitude towards trade policy actually delivers things. And that's why USMCA passing Congress is important. Trade deals are great if you can negotiate them, but if you don't get them through Congress, they never take effect. And that's exactly what happened with the Obama administration with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So he needs to get the USMCA through Congress and have that win. He also promised to rewrite the relationship with China, to take him on in a way that no previous administration had, and that he would bring him to the table and get this amazing deal. Well, he needs to get that amazing deal again to prove the concept, or he needs to at least prove that he's on that path and that a second term might get him to close that path. And that's a little bit what he's doing here with the phasing of this deal here. The second piece on the political side is the economy. Look, we've had GDP numbers out this week showing the economy growing at 1.9%. Remember back, Donald Trump promised 3% plus growth to the voters. And there's a lot of economists out there pointing to his trade wars as one of the big drags on the economy. You look at the manufacturing sector, it's coming off a tough year. There's a genuine recession going on in parts of the manufacturing sector. And there's fears that could still bleed through to other parts of the economy. Will that get us a broader recession? We don't know. But this is not the booming economy that Donald Trump promised. So that's a political problem for him, potentially, or at least something that the Democrats can point to.
Well, I do wonder, and he's got to be thinking about the 2020 elections, Sean, and I do wonder, wouldn't he like to be able to sit up at a podium and say, hey, look what I got done, and include U.S.-China on that list? Will he be ultimately able to say something? Because he has gotten something done.
Yeah, he got phase one done, and he's going to get phase one done in all likelihood. And he will point to that and claim that as a big victory. I think if you look at the elements of that phase one, there's a reason to be skeptical. Part of it is a return to agricultural purchases at levels that were there before the trade war started. The intellectual property provisions that we're talking about are things that the Chinese are doing anyway. The opening up of the financial sector is things the Chinese are doing anyway. So there's going to be a lot of people questioning the details here and whether it's worth it. I think, at the same time, look, I'm a trade geek. weight or some political benefit as a result of that. But look, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, what are you going to do without baseball?
It's a long, cold winter.
It is. It is. Well, especially
There'll
when
be
you
lots
live
of
in
trade news.
Especially when you live in a town with the Redskins. We're just going to leave it there. But go Nats. Nice job. Congrats on that. Sean Donnan, senior trade reporter for Bloomberg, joining us from our 99.1 studio in Washington, D.C. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Massar, Jason Kelly here with you on a Thursday. And this is Bloomberg Radio.
It's another Thursday evening. Yet another cold day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick. Reach the top of Mount Teede or relax on a sandy beach. Fly from London Gatwick to Tenerife with British Airways. With flights and 7 nights hotel from just £349 per person. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun. With British Airways, incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
Hey, it's me again, the TV. Since my family gave me Now TV, there's no more endlessly searching for something they want to watch, because now I don't do filler TV, just killer TV. If my family want crime dramas, I've got loads, and they're never going to guess who did it. Dramas, I've got all the big shows from Sky Atlantic. Or how about football? I've got the Premier League. Now they can watch whatever they're in the mood for.
What's your TV got for you tonight? Now TV. 18 plus, month passes auto renew, terms apply.
NFL fans, hear every live game on TuneIn Premium.
Toss to the right, throws to the end zone, caught by Fells! 15, 10, 5, touchdown Green Bay!
Today, for your Halloween, hear the home and away call as the San Francisco 49ers visit the Arizona Cardinals at 8:20 p.m. Eastern.
Back, what a block! Touchdown for Tevin Coleman going the other way! Touchdown!
At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
In the stock market and in life, everything can change from 1 minute to the next. Be the first to hear the latest money news and market trends with CNBC on TuneIn. Wherever your day takes you, listen to CNBC's full slate of programming, including shows like Fast Money, Squawk Box, and Mad Money with Jim Cramer. And when the next big business story breaks, CNBC lets you know with live updates and commentary. At the office, at home, or on the go. Search CNBC on TuneIn to listen.
ESPN Radio and TuneIn just go hand in hand. Hi, this is Mel Kiper Jr. reminding you that all of your favorite ESPN Radio shows and events are right here on TuneIn. Just search ESPN Radio to begin enjoying it today.
From the financial capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Bloomberg World Headquarters. I'm Charlie Pellet. We move into the final hour of trading on this Thursday, Halloween, October 31st, 2019. We have got the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all declining. Stocks falling the most in 3 weeks as weak manufacturing data and renewed concern on trade rattles markets, adjusting to the Federal Reserve signal that it's done easing. Yesterday, the Fed reduced interest rates by 1/4 of a point for the third time this year, and Fed Chair Jay Powell signaled a pause in further cuts unless the economic outlook changes materially. Julia Coronado is the president and founder of Macro Policy Perspectives.
We haven't even inked phase one of the trade deal. There's still a lot of uncertainties around Brexit and many other things. So it was a little surprising how hard he closed the door on further rate cuts. I think some of that reflects a lot of division on the committee about the appropriateness of cutting preemptively the way they have.
And President Trump is resuming his attacks on the Fed and its chair, Jay Powell, a day after it cut rates for the third time this year. In a tweet, the president said, quote, "People are very disappointed in Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve, and the Fed has called it wrong from the beginning, too fast, too slow." Again, that's President Trump in a tweet. Just getting word, PG&E restoring power to 328,255 customers affected by the shutoff in California. PG&E shares, they are lower now by 0.8%. And Google says it's its confidential business information is at risk in the nationwide antitrust probe of the company because the Texas Attorney General's office, which is leading the investigation, hired 2 consultants that have worked for Google adversaries. Alphabet, parent of Google, down 0.4%. S&P down 18 now, a drop of 0.6%. The Dow down 237, down 0.9. NASDAQ lower by 34, down 0.4. 10-year up 24.30 seconds, yield 1.68%. Gold up 1.1%, 15.11 the ounce. Crude oil lower now by 1.9%, 54.02 a barrel. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, let's do a little pre-Jobs Day Business Week economics. The team is here. Kathleen Hayes, Global Economics and Policy Editor for Bloomberg. And Carl Riccadonna.
Jobs Eve.
Jobs Eve?
Yeah.
All Hallows Eve, Jobs Eve?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So will tomorrow be All Jobs Day instead of All Souls Day?
Yeah.
Or All Saints Day is tomorrow.
Is it?
I don't know. Yeah, today's All Souls Day. Tomorrow's All Souls Day. Kathleen and Carl are here.
Trick or treat in the jobs report.
Exactly. So a trick or a treat, Kathleen Hayes. Well, actually, let's start with a little Fed reaction if we can.
Though, I just think it's so fascinating. I love this bond rally, right? It started yesterday after the Fed decision. Cut the key rate, signal you're going to be on pause. And people started saying, and it's continued today, well, if the Fed's not going to keep cutting rates, and we're looking at the economy and saying, it's not that strong and it's going to slow down. They're probably reading Carl Riccadonna, reading our Bloomberg Economics team stuff saying, yeah, and they're not going to step in and be so eager to support it. And the trade deal, the Chinese, I never trust, though, these things, Chinese sources close to the Chinese saying, I don't know if we can have a long-term trade deal. This may be trade negotiation stuff. However, people realize, the trade deal isn't a done deal. And even if a mini deal happens, you're not going to just necessarily get rid of all that uncertainty and damage to manufacturing.
And our Sean Donnan just talked about that he doesn't anticipate a phase 2, right?
Well, exactly. Right. So meanwhile, what's that going to mean for the economy? And I think this bond rally with the 10-year notes up 3/4, it's down to 1.68. The 30-year bond is up, about 1.25 points. 2.17 is the yield. It's true. Carl can dive into some of the specifics on the data we got today. But
let's do that, Carl. Let's talk about the specifics. There was a slew of data. Joe Weisenthal, our markets editor, threw me a ton of shade when I talked about some of the economic reports, thinking they weren't that important, but there were some that he did think were. So you set the stage. Tell me what's important.
Sure. Well, we had personal income and spending for the month of September, and so maybe you were both right on that because this
You're
was
such a diplomat.
I'm trying to
You're
be
such
friendly.
a good guy.
There's your treat. There's your treat.
Okay.
However, the income and spending data was incorporated into the GDP data. That's why you could say it's not that relevant. However, it is important because it shows the intra-quarter trajectory of activity in Q3, right? So now we know how the quarter came to an end, and can we bring in the bad Halloween puns? It was a witch's brew of bad news. And the reason for that is, we've talked about this time and time again on this show. Consumers are the critical driver of economic growth for the foreseeable future. Business spending has shut down. Exports are in contraction. It is a one-pony wagon here, and that pony is consumers. And when we look at wage and salary gains in the month of September, the big goose egg, 0.0 for the Animal House crowd out there. Not a good result, and that tells you that the fuel in consumers' tanks is starting to dwindle a little bit, and that creates some concerns about consumer spending more broadly, which again rose just 0.2 of a percentage point in the month of September. So there's signs here, not that consumers are falling out of bed,
but better than the month before.
But they are cooling down. Well, if we look at consumer spending was 0.2 in August, 0.2. Here is pointing downward, and so this creates some real questions. If consumers are pulling back to some degree with weaker jobs data, weaker income data, consumer confidence kind of moving sideways, all of that portends a
kind of gloomy Q4 outcome.
Scary, ghostly. But I just like to share something from a conversation we had with Charlie Plosser on Bloomberg Daybreak Asia yesterday evening, former president of the Philadelphia Federal Reserve
Renowned
Bank.
hawk.
But but that wasn't what it's about. And Charlie, I think he was so right on. He said his problem with the Fed right now is communication. For example, he said, so if the economy is doing so well, why did he cut the key rate? And if you think about it, Jay Powell did not do a very good job of explaining that. So what's the Fed going to do next? Well, how do you know? How can you tell what their reaction function is now? I think that's a very interesting point, because if you were listening to Powell yesterday during the press conference, and I know you were, and when he was asked questions about like, okay, so what would it take for you to see a materially weaker economy? What would you be watching? He go, well, he would go back to his speech and say, well, I just said, and he'd reread what was said in the speech. He was taking great care to only say what was supposed to be said, and you get the feeling that maybe there's a lot of discord in the Fed internally right now about what they should be doing. So I think going ahead, Carl, that's what's going to be interesting. You don't know how much a weak consumer is going to affect the Fed, because you really can't tell what they're basing everything on right now.
The narrative has certainly shifted. So this whole mini easing cycle started back in July, and that was in response, at the time at least, they credited it to the inflation soft patch that we saw in Q2. So it started off on inflation's below target, so we should lower the rate to address that. Very quickly, come August 1st, it shifted to we need to offset the trade war. Now it has turned into, well, the economy has downside risks, and so we're taking insurance out against that. I think that narrative is going to stick as we look into the December meeting. December 11th will be that rate decision.
So you still think that there's going to be a rate cut?
I still think there's going to be a rate cut.
December.
We're going to see weak jobs numbers tomorrow. GDP is decelerating over that horizon. Mind you, last time GDP was decelerating through 2%, which is basically where we got in Q3 1.9. Last time we were decelerating through that was way back when the Fed was starting the tightening cycle, and everyone thought they were going to raise rates in September, and that weak GDP data led Janet Yellen to say, wait a minute, we're going to wait a little bit longer to start that tightening campaign. So the Fed did err on the side of caution, dovish caution, last time we were descending through 2%. I think that's going to be the case this time around as well.
Final pre-jobs day thought, Kevin?
Oh, well, I think the big deal with the jobs tomorrow is you got the GM strike.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of workers who are going to be sort of
Remember that old Chevy slogan, like a rock? Payroll sinking like a rock
they're temporarily laid off, but everybody's going to take out whoever was laid off temporarily, put that back in the number. I would agree, though, that is going to be this kind of could really help this bond rally keep going. If that comes in weaker than expected, another reason people to say, hey, Fed's got it wrong, we've got it right, time to buy bonds.
Favorite candy, Carl?
Oh.
Quick.
Oh, my goodness. Reese Cup Butterfinger, Nerds.
Nope.
Oh, my God. Snickers.
I always go for the Snickers.
Jason.
Whatchamacallit? Favorite candy bar?
Carol.
I love Reese's.
Nationally, it's the Reese's Cup.
Yeah, I like the Reese's Cup.
Reese's Cup, you can't go wrong.
Oh, my God, it's perfect.
All right, Bob Mood's got a favorite candy. He's going to tell us along with World National Headlines. Hey, Bob.
Butterfinger. Word in from Chicago that the teachers union there reports an agreement has been reached with the nation's third largest school district to end the teachers' strike that began October 17th, and that includes making up 5 of 11 school days lost during the walkout. Democrats pushed a package of ground rules for their impeachment inquiry of President Trump through a sharply divided House today.
On this vote, the yeas are 232, the nays are 196. The resolution is adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announcing the tally with all Republicans who voted opposing the resolution. Just 2 Democratic defectors joined them. Freshman Representative Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey and 15-term veteran Representative Colin Peterson of Minnesota, one of his party's most conservative members. Both represent GOP-leaning districts. Ford is closing a Michigan engine factory as part of the tentative agreement it reached with the United Auto Workers as the automaker begins to shift from traditional internal combustion engines to battery-powered vehicles. The agreement allows Ford to shutter a 46-year-old engine plant near Detroit. Hopeful news from California's governor on improving conditions for crews fighting wildfires up and down the state.
conditions now more favorable, not just today and tomorrow, but we anticipate and through the weekend.
California Governor Gavin Newsom saying evacuation is substantially declined. It's just a quarter of it was what it was just a few days ago. Global News 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Bob Moon.
Europe. It's going through some remarkable financial and political changes.
They've had constructive talks overnight.
We know because we report on them.
You've been conducting this peer review of UK building societies. Historically, the Fed rate cut cycles between pre-Euro, post-Euro.
Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.
You want this to pose the question with three options.
Weekdays at 1 a.m. Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Bloomberg is excited to convene the Year Ahead Summit on November 7th in New York City. Speakers include Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg, award-winning actor, producer, and businesswoman Sarah Jessica Parker, TPG co-CEO Jim Coulter, and CVS Health CEO Larry Merlo. Supporting sponsors, Pfizer, Workday, Hennessy Paradise Imperial. Participating sponsor, Invesco QQQ. Learn more at BloombergLive.com/TYA. Register with code RADIO.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
It's another Thursday evening. Yet another cold day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick and explore tropical rainforests. Fly from London Gatwick to Costa Rica with British Airways from £218 each way based on a return fare. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun with British Airways. Incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
3 is a magic number. 300 schemes to help bugs and bees, supporting environmental needs. 8,000 grants for local sports. Performing arts get our support. 7 millionaires every week. The nation's on a winning streak. £30 million to good causes every week. Who'd have thought it? These are magic numbers.
Your numbers make amazing happen. 25 years of the National Lottery.
Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Hello? This is Dustin. I found something. Is anybody there?
We hear you, Dustin. With Sky Q, you can easily catch up on epic Netflix shows like Stranger Things and then watch award-winning Sky originals like Chernobyl. Get Sky and Netflix all in one place on Sky Q for one surprisingly low price. Just £25 a month. Visit sky.com and join today. Offer ends November 14th. 18-month minimum terms. Prices may change during contract. Requires Sky Q box connected to broadband. Set up from £20. Further terms apply.
Hi, this is Brian Weber, host of NFL First and Goal every Sunday, kicking off at 1 Eastern only on TuneIn Premium. Be sure to listen this Sunday for the ultimate football fan experience, featuring 7 hours of commercial-free coverage of every scoring play around the NFL.
College football is live on TuneIn. Listen for free to games from more than 140 schools all season long.
To the 10. All the way to the checkerboard.
It is the annual Florida-Georgia College Football Showdown. This year, there are more than just bragging rights on the line. With both teams ranked in the top 10, will it be the Gators or Bulldogs leaving Jacksonville on top of the SEC East and in the driver's seat for the conference championship? Find out this Saturday with kickoff starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Search college football to listen.
Far wing, elevates, triple bucket.
For more of the crowd, the shot clock ticks down. Will the ball go in? The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. And the replays just don't cut
To the
it.
sideline, the man Fleet for three.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season streaming live, so you can be there when it matters most. Hear it now, hear it live on TuneIn.
Fake in the lane, turnaround jumper from 8 feet is good on the
Search
right block.
NBA today to start listening.
For some, Halloween is a little more serious than candy and costumes. To give your Hallows Eve a truly frightening feeling, turn on Soma FM's special Doom Station to hear a haunting seance of soundscapes made for tortured souls, the living dead, and cursed spirits of the night. Search Doom Special on TuneIn to run a chill down your spine this Halloween.
In the stock market and in life, everything can change from 1 minute to the next. Be the first to hear the latest money news and market trends with CNBC on TuneIn. Wherever your day takes you, listen to CNBC's full slate of programming, including shows like Fast Money, Box, and Mad Money with Jim Cramer. And when the next big business story breaks, CNBC lets you know with live updates and commentary. At the office, at home, or on the go. Search CNBC on TuneIn to listen. You're listening to TuneIn, where you can hear all the audio you love in one place. Live NFL games, the hottest music, breaking news, and podcasts. Push play and go about your day, only on TuneIn.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all declining. Let's head right over to the first word breaking news desk for today's afternoon call. Here he is, Bill Maloney.
And good afternoon, Charlie. Like you said, U.S. stocks under pressure on trade concerns and a weak Chicago PMI number. Dow's currently down 206 points. S&P's dropped 15, and NASDAQ is lower by 25. Small caps drop 14 points, and the U.S. 10-year yield drops to 1.69%. Only two of the main 11 S&P sectors are trading higher, with gains in utilities and telecom. Materials and industrials led to the downside. Nasdaq biotechs fall 0.5%. Transports sink 160 points. Semis drop 1%, and the VIX is higher by 10%. Leaders to the upside in the Dow, Apple after earnings, and Travelers, while Walgreens fell 3% and led to the downside. Also after earnings, Kraft Heinz soared 11%, while Wayfair plunged 20%. And wrapping things up, some of the names putting after the bell tonight include Arista Networks, Avis Budget, and Western Union. Live from the first breaking news desk, I'm Bill Maloney. Charlie.
Okay, we thank you very much, Bill. And to hear live breaking news over your Bloomberg, type Squawk, SQUAWK on your terminal. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks a lot. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
Yeah, we're talking about
Pointer Sisters. I haven't heard that.
Oh, it is the Pointer Sisters. I was trying to remember. Well, we're talking about, I guess, a little bit of new attitudes, but we're also talking about the new economy. And it's all in the current issue of Bloomberg Business Week on newsstands, online, and at Bloomberg.com. Really teeing up the Bloomberg New Economy Forum that will be held in Beijing in a couple of weeks. From trade and technology to climate change, immigration, inclusion, so much. Economics. See, it caught me.
Wow.
Economics editor Christina Lindblad.
You went like full Grover there, talking about the new economy
I love
issue.
Grover. Christina Lindblad, economics editor, she oversaw the issue. She joins us along with Joel Weber, Bloomberg Business Week editor, who was really singing your praise the other day.
Oh, you can't sing it enough. She did the whole thing by herself. Oh, there are other people too. But so, Christina, what does the new economy issue mean to you?
Well, I like to actually, when I first heard the term new economy, I thought, what the heck does that mean? And so it's actually a nice challenge to think about what it is. And I think of it as the ideas that bring different parts of the world together. We have now sort of like these kind of geographies, developing countries and developed countries and emerging markets and industrialized nations. And this one cuts through that because there are sort of commonalities, as you will see in our cover, that bring different parts of these continents together.
And so
that was way better put than I could have put it. That was perfect.
What's interesting too, because we've had a chance to go through all the stories, we also had a chance to talk with both of you for our weekend show and to go a little bit deeper than maybe we can today. But how do you start to choose? Because part of it is finding these, for lack of a better term, sort of emblems, sort of these entry points into exploring, say, climate or governance. And so how do you do that?
How do you choose the stories you want to tell? I think that it's a mixture of big ideas and then also finding voices that speak to these issues. Because otherwise, if you just did all big ideas, you'd be kind of like a briefing document. You know? And so to have the voices. So, for example, in the climate change part, we took a 2-week. We sent a photographer and a reporter for 2 weeks down this trip to the Zambezi in southern Africa, which is a part of the world that's very vulnerable to climate change. Not that much government resources for mitigation. So, and that was a really vivid way because I was surprised too. Because, for example, I hadn't thought about the fishermen. I'd been thinking about the farmers.
That one it totally stuck with me too.
Yeah,
it's like this idea that you're so dependent, that culture is so dependent on the river. All the food comes from the river, and yet once you have climate change and the water levels recede, you're not having the same fishery as you had before. And like they're not even able to get the fish that they would be throwing away before. That's how hard it is. And when you think about that across the world and all the different other Zambesis that are out there that aren't in the issue, you start to sort of feel how if we don't have a place that we can talk about some of these issues and attempt to find some solutions, then we're really going to be spinning out of control. Like this is an attempt to like tap the brakes and actually keep things on the rails a little bit.
Can I just throw out there, I love the story about the plastic bank.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think, and you talk about the problems, and you're right, Joel, that like if we don't start dealing with some of this, we're getting to a point of no return. And I love this idea of too much plastic that's out there, and you can't recycle it all, or what do you do? And the plastic bank has come up with a solution.
Right. So the idea was to really incentivize people not to throw plastic out, which is a problem in a lot of countries, and that's how it finds its way into rivers, eventually into ocean. So, recycling centers have existed for a long time, but this entrepreneur, Katz from Canada, came up with this idea of kind of having like a digital wallet system attached to the recycling centers that already existed, and sort of pay people to have to start accumulating deposits into these accounts. And to us, it sounds like no money at all. We have a photograph of this giant bag of plastic bottles that got somebody 36 cents. But, if you're making like $120 a month, which is what some of these... Right. This isn't bad at all.
And bigger than that is like I think of it in general as it's really easy just to talk about problems, right? And we can talk about lack of banking or plastic being everywhere and taking over the oceans and everything else. And yet there's this really novel solution, which is like, let's take this thing that's a problem and flip it on its head and say like, hey, there's actually some currency that we could actually adopt out of this. That's pretty novel. And suddenly there's no more plastic in the streets of a country that had previously been overrun by plastic. So I think that, in general, we talk about this a lot at Business Week, of like there's the world that's littered with problems. And then there are people who are entrepreneurs or companies who step into that void and say, actually, we can find a solution for these problems.
Right.
And that is exactly what we try and identify and talk about in a lot of this issue is an attempt at finding elegant solutions for really difficult, pressing problems.
Right, and it's definitely one that you want to sit down and read, maybe take it on a plane or a train, because there's a lot to dig into, and even if you play around with it online, a lot to explore, especially when we talk about the drivers.
Are you working on next year's already? I'm already thinking.
Day one.
I knew you would be.
Day one. All right, Joel Weber, editor of Bloomberg Business Week, and Christina Lindblad, the global economics editor for Business Week, the architect of the new economy issue. It is a gem for sure, and you can check out more of that on our weekend radio and television shows. They'll be coming at you tomorrow evening.
Yeah, exactly. So much great stuff to read and learn about. So check it out, everyone. This is Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks are lower in the final hour of trading. The Dow Jones Industrials are down 241 points, 0.9% to 26,945. The Nasdaq is down 35 points, or 0.4%. The S&P 500 is down 19 points, or 0.6%. Shares of Kraft Heinz are up 11.5%. The food company's third quarter profit topped Wall Street forecasts. Ford will likely avoid a crippling strike like the one that just ended at General Motors. There is a tentative contract agreement between Ford and the United Auto Workers Union. The pact still has to be ratified. UAW leaders are praising the deal, saying Ford will create and retain more than 8,500 jobs. Fiat Chrysler and PSA Peugeot of France have agreed to merge. The deal will create the fourth largest automaker in the world. Crude oil futures fell back to $54.18 a barrel in New York. Jeff Bellinger, Bloomberg Radio.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies? Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP, an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
It's another Thursday evening, yet another cold day. So dig the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick and relax with 365 beautiful beaches.
So yes, sir, what would you like to have?
Fly from London Gatwick to Antigua with British Airways from £223 each way based on a return fare. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun with British Airways. Incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
Hey NFL fans, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you have unlimited access to every team and every game in the league. Listen live as it happens or on demand. Anytime, anywhere. All season long. Search NFL today. TuneIn would like to congratulate the 2019 World Series champion Washington Nationals.
Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books! The celebration is on! The Washington Nationals are the world champions!
Before the game, I said, hey, I want you guys to just treat this as just another game. One more 1-0. And they did that tonight.
To catch all the exciting sports that TuneIn has, make sure to search sports today.
Far wing, elevates, triple bucket.
The war of the crowd. The shot clock ticks down. Will the ball go in? The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. And the replays just don't cut
The
it.
sideline, the man fleet for three.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season streaming live, so you can be there when it matters most. Hear it now, hear it live on TuneIn.
Fake in the lane, turnaround jumper from 8 feet is good on the right
Search
block.
NBA today to start listening.
For some, Halloween is a little more serious than candy and costumes. To give your Hallows Eve a truly frightening feeling, turn on Soma FM's special Doom Station to hear a haunting seance of soundscapes made for tortured souls, the living dead, and cursed spirits of the night. Search Doom Special on TuneIn to run a chill down your spine this Halloween.
Did you know your favorite radio stations are in your pocket? Yes, the TuneIn app lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio anywhere you want. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
ESPN Radio and TuneIn just go hand in hand. Hi, this is Mel Kiper Jr. reminding you that all of your favorite ESPN Radio shows and events are right here on TuneIn. Just search ESPN Radio to begin enjoying it today.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Casting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
So, Carol, amid trade, impeachment, earnings, Twitter saying they're not going to take political ads, there was a massive deal in the car world, $49 billion worth. Some pretty well-known names getting together.
If I push the button. But if we think companies aren't making decisions about things because of all these macro issues, well, you know what, folks? They are.
They are. Well, and you've got a couple of companies that probably need somebody getting together. We're going to get into that with David Welch, our Detroit Bureau Chief, in just a minute. First, let's get to Charlie Pellet. Hey, Charlie.
Thank you very much. Fiat Chrysler shares up now by 1.1%. The Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ all declining. Stocks down the most in 3 weeks as weak manufacturing data and renewed concern on trade rattles markets. A Bloomberg report said Chinese officials have warned they will not budge on the thorniest trade issues. Darryl Cronk is Chief Investment Officer at Wells Fargo Wealth and Investment Management. He was interviewed this morning on Bloomberg Television.
You know, the deal is very fragile. It's got a day-to-day. And even if you get a deal, there's just not a lot of substance there. And I really truly believe that even if you ink a deal, even if it's a phase one deal, I think the markets are...
To Treasury yields, you can see that they've kind of moved down together in that sense. But what's happened is that in August, you saw the ratio between the industry groups reach its lowest level since March 2000. Of course, you remember back then it was around the time that, the internet bubble of the 1990s was peaking. So, the timing makes sense. And at the same time that you had this low in the ratio, you also had the gap between the 2-year and 10-year yields turn negative for the first time since 2007. Now you've seen a bit of a reversal. It's been positive since Labor Day, though in the wake of the Fed decision yesterday, it's kind of come down a bit, taking some of the steam out of this. And it really comes down to now, are you going to get more of that reversal, the widening again of yields? And will that put financial stocks in a position to finally show some relative strength? I mean, we talk about growth in value shares. Financial companies really represent the heart of value stocks, and tech, if you think growth, they certainly fit that category. If you want to know more, folks, send me an email. I'll get you the chart, the explanation that goes with it, and everything I do going forward. The email address is dwilson@bloomberg.net. That's dwilson@bloomberg.net.
All right, Dave Wilson, thank you so much. You'll be back with us in just a bit for your stock of the day. Well, let's go to Detroit. David Welch is there. He's the bureau chief. A busy time in the car business. Fiat Chrysler, PSA Group getting together. It's a $49 billion combination. David, I guess the question becomes, why now, and what may this portend for the combined company?
Well, if you're with Fiat, it might be why not 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been the late Sergio Marchionne, the now deceased CEO, was trying to get a deal for this company going back to, I think it was 2016, or maybe it was 14, when he had this sort of famous presentation, Confessions of a Capital Junkie, and he was trying to get General Motors to merge up with him, and GM wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. And then just this past year, he was trying to get it, not he, but Fiat Chrysler was trying to get a deal done with Renault Nissan, and the Japanese side didn't really want to participate, and the French government didn't want to participate if the Nissan side wasn't going along willingly. That kind of died. So basically, why all this running around, and why is PSA trying to get a merger partner as well? It's getting really expensive to be a car company. You need big scale, and these companies have it, but they aren't as big as Volkswagen or General Motors or Toyota, and they feel disadvantaged. They don't have as much cash as those players, and everyone's worried about spending a lot of money on electric vehicles and autonomous technology and being left behind if they don't have big scale, big cash flows in order to be able to afford that stuff, and it's becoming very difficult to do without a lot of size.
But David, is this the case of a weak automaker plus another weak automaker creates just a larger weak automaker?
Yeah, it's a very fair question. When General Motors and Chrysler were both going bankrupt, there was a plan to merge them, and someone said to me, "So you're going to take one boat that's listing and one that's sinking, and lash them together."
Right.
As a sailor, that's all bad.
Yeah. So they're actually not both bad companies. The Fiat side of Fiat Chrysler that's a pretty lousy business, let's face it. Nobody really wants to be doing business in Europe, in the car market there, because it's low margin stuff, it's highly competitive, heavily regulated, and Fiat is one of the weaker players there.
All right.
But PSA is pretty good.
Go ahead.
And in the U.S., Chrysler's very good. The Jeep and Ram brands print money, so we'll put them together and you might have something.
All right. Great stuff. Good context. We really appreciate it. A little lightning round there with David Welch. He is Detroit bureau chief for Bloomberg, following all things cars from our bureau, our outpost there. And it is a complicated world for cars, and a tough one, as David just said.
And they're increasingly becoming technology companies, right? As well. And we can, continue to see transportation overall disrupted. And so there's a lot of things that are being thrown at them all at once. Hey, coming up, we're going to take you down to the closing bell. We're bouncing off our lows, but we are well off our highs of the day. So we'll get to there in just a moment.
All right. First, let's get to Bob Moon. He's got your world and national headlines. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Jason. It has been the primary Republican talking point on Capitol Hill today.
It's a tainted process.
This is a process that has been fundamentally tainted.
Representatives Steve Scalise and Liz Cheney condemning today's vote by Democrats to formally take the impeachment investigation public. The White House has expanded on the attack, saying the House vote approving rules for its impeachment inquiry has enshrined unacceptable violations of due process into House rules. Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham goes on to say the process is unfair, unconstitutional, and fundamentally un-American. Republicans have demanded for weeks the hearings be made public, saying the GOP was unfairly being shut out of the process. But paradoxically, every House Republican voted against today's resolution. Following the vote, House Select Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff told reporters Republicans largely didn't attend the hearings they were cleared to attend in the first place.
The resolution will also permit me as the chair to begin releasing the transcripts of the depositions, and I think that you will see when those are released just what equal opportunity members of both parties have had.
Democrats say witnesses are making it clear it's the president who has abused his power. A stolen car sparked a wildfire in a tinder-dry field early today as two of Southern California's quintessential themes, car chases and gusty Santa Ana winds, collided with potentially devastating consequences. The hot car ignited dry grass east of Los Angeles, and strong winds that have menaced the region quickly spread the flames, burning homes and forcing residents to flee. Global News 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter. I'm Bob Moon.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their business strategically. Yet, the most competitive managers in the market know, with the right partner and a flexible operating platform, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
Determination and operational strength are both essential factors for growth in asset management. I'm Steve Meyer, President, Head of SEI's Investment Manager Services Division. We know that disruptive forces create opportunities around the world. If you see potential in change, our industry specialists will maximize SEI's integrated platform of data and risk management, global investment operations, compliance support, and investor services to position your asset management business for success. Come grow with us.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
In-depth.
It's another Thursday evening, yet another cold day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick. Reach the top of Mount Teede or relax on a sandy beach. Fly from London Gatwick to Tenerife with British Airways, with flights and 7 nights hotel from just £349 per person. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun. With British Airways, incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
TuneIn would like to congratulate the 2019 World Series champion Washington Nationals.
Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books. The celebration is on. The Washington Nationals are the world champions.
Before the game, I said, hey, I want you guys to just treat this as just another game. One more 1-0. And they did that tonight.
To catch all the exciting sports that TuneIn has, make sure to search sports today. NFL fans, hear every live game on TuneIn Premium.
He does to the right, throws to the end zone, caught by Fells!
15, 10, 5, touchdown Green Bay!
Today, for your Halloween, hear the home and away call as the San Francisco 49ers visit the Arizona Cardinals at 8:20 p.m. Eastern.
What a block! Touchdown for Tevin Coleman going the other way! Touchdown!
At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today. College football is live on TuneIn. Listen for free to games from more than 140 schools all season long.
To the 10, all the way to the checkerboard. Somebody stays on his feet.
It is the annual Florida-Georgia College Football Showdown. This year, there are more than just bragging rights on the line. With both teams ranked in the top 10, will it be the Gators or Bulldogs leaving Jacksonville on top of the SEC East and in the driver's seat for the conference championship? Find out this Saturday with kickoff starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Search college football to listen.
When Eleanor Longden got to college, she started to hear voices.
And they don't sound like me, so some of them are male, some of them sound quite young, some of them have different accents.
And they would drive her crazy until she started talking back to them.
The voices have ultimately become partners in that healing process.
I'm Guy Raz. Stories of Overcoming. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR. You can subscribe to the TED Radio Hour on TuneIn.
Want to know what's happening in right now? The latest headlines are just a tap away with Fox News Talk on TuneIn. When news breaks, get up-to-the-minute coverage on developing stories from around the world. Plus, hear all the Fox shows you watch on your TV. Listen to Fox News Talk around the clock on TuneIn.
For some, Halloween is a little more serious than candy and costumes. To give your Hallows Eve a truly frightening feeling, turn on Soma FM's special Doom Station to hear a haunting seance of soundscapes made for tortured souls, the living dead, and cursed spirits of the night. Search Doom Special on TuneIn to run a chill down your spine this Halloween.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Far wing elevates, triple bucket.
The roar of the crowd. The shot clock ticks down. Will the ball go in? The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. And the replays just don't cut it.
The sideline, the man fleet for three.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season streaming live, so you can be there when it matters most. Hear it now, hear it live on TuneIn.
Pump fake in the lane, turnaround jumper from 8 feet is good on the right.
Search NBA today to start listening.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. We've got 13 minutes to go ahead of the closing bell. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ, they are all lower. 200-point drop right now in the Dow at 26,679. A drop there of 0.7%. S&P down 15, down 0.5. NASDAQ lower by 26. That is a drop of 0.3%. The 10-year up 25-30 seconds, yield 1.68%. Gold up 1.1%. $15.11 the ounce. Sam West Texas Intermediate crude down 1.9%. $54.03 a barrel. U.S. stocks declining on the day's economic data, along with trade woes. Recapping, stocks lower. S&P down 15, a drop there of 0.5%. I'm Charlie Pelleton. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
I'm driving in my car. I turn on the radio.
Yeah, how about you let me drive?
Oh, no.
Who's gonna drive you home?
Honey, please, I'll do the driving.
Drive on.
Excuse me, I want to drive.
Just drive, baby.
It's the question that drives us.
This is the Drive to the Close.
That funky music will drive us till the dawn.
On Bloomberg Radio.
All right, counting you down. Just got about 12 minutes left in today's trading session. It is time for the Drive to the Close. Leo Kelly is back with us, founder, CEO, and CIO of Verdance Capital Advisors. They've got a roughly $2 billion in client assets. He's based in Baltimore, back in our Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio in New York. Welcome back.
It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Is it good to be investing in this environment?
It is good. We're making new highs. I don't think I want to be a fixed income investor.
Yeah.
But
still.
The equity markets are up, and yet there's value in the marketplace. You can still find value. You just have to look a little closer.
Like where?
Yeah, where?
Well, actually, if you look at value stocks today, there's a 2 standard deviation valuation gap to large cap growth. We have not seen that since 1999.
That's wide.
That's wide. And 99 was the last time, right before the tech market crash, when we had an exciting new technology that was running up stocks. So we're seeing some similarities there. I don't think we're at that kind of peak level yet, but there's a big gap in those stocks.
And so as you think about coming off of the Fed meeting yesterday, what do you make of the fixed income market right now? I mean, we were talking about it, talking about mortgage rates and things like that, sort of the non-equity world, especially because things are not necessarily going according to script. At least it feels like, we have almost not a housing boom, but certainly a lot of people buying houses because mortgage rates are so low, and yet people are looking for yield. The fixed income picture, what do you make of it?
Well, first of all, in the housing market, right, it is the perfect environment. We've got low unemployment. We have wages slowly starting to grind higher, and mortgage rates are low. So in terms of fixed income, I think the best move in fixed income is buy something else. You've got low rates. You don't have an environment where...
Even though the Fed seemed to maybe indicate, or the markets read it, that they might be pausing at this point, you still think fixed income is going to kind of stay where it is for a while? I mean, it certainly has stayed that way for a while and even gotten lower in terms of yields.
Sure. Let's assume that it does stay stable from the Fed standpoint. Then you're just looking at total return less than inflation. I like to call that safely losing money every day.
Yeah.
And so when you reach for yield, the problem with this market is if you go out in duration, you're taking incredible interest rate risk at rates this low. And the high yield market, we're looking at remarkably tight spreads. So you get no reward for taking risk late in an economic cycle, and you're not getting yield to support it. Of course, you could always go to Germany and pay them to hold your money.
Right.
So.
But is there some point that we need to think about capital preservation? Jason and I talk a lot about this because there are times that I've certainly watched with this equity market, and we are up, well into 20%, and then of course we get kind of a tremendous sell-off, and that hurts investors, that volatility. I think over the past 2 years, right, we haven't gone really anywhere. So I do wonder about capital preservation in this environment and what you need to do and maybe you should be doing.
Yeah, I definitely. So we're
Your
not.
face says, yeah, you don't need it.
Yeah, well, we're not at our most aggressive stance that we've been.
You
so
aren't.
we're constructively positive, but we're mindful that valuations are about where they should be to slightly elevated. This is an active market. You have to be active in this market. There's value. Emerging markets look interesting. International looks interesting. Small over large. There are places to put money. And frankly, in the private equity market, stay away from the big unicorn play. But in the private equity market, in boring, old, grinded out, great businesses to buy marketplace, you can make money there with lower volatility. Not less risk, but lower volatility.
So let's talk about that, because private equity we talk about it a lot on this show. It's a little bit of a holy grail on both sides of the equation, in the sense that the private equity funds, they would love to get more individual investors and not just big institutional investors, not just the highest or the wealthiest of the family offices. How do you create something, because I think you have, that gives customers exposure to this?
Right. So what we've done is we think that private equity long-term is a part of a portfolio. It gets, over time, it has produced returns in excess of the public markets, less volatility, no different on risk. And again, we differentiate. Volatility is the movement of money. Risk is losing it.
Yeah.
So with private equity, if you're smart and you treat it like public equity, understand where there's value, don't chase the hot dot, you can make an excellent rate of return because the money isn't hot. It's long-term investing. So what we've done is we've said our individual investors should be in this. We've actually created a company called Independent Access Partners. And what we do is we pull our clients' money together into one access vehicle, and we are one big investor. But here's the key, and this is the secret, especially in the race to zero that we keep hearing in our business. We do it without a management fee or a carry. This is a service to clients, and these are the type of differentiations that businesses like ours need to capture a client.
But these are for certain investors, correct?
They are for certain investors.
I mean, I'm just saying that you have to a certain wealth position, right?
Correct. You have to be accredited investor for some, qualified for others. So this is not for everybody. And frankly, private equity is not for everybody. And also, frankly,
I wonder when you say that, because we have these constant public versus private markets. I do wonder how many, regular investors who are looking at their 401k are being squeezed out of, tremendous returns because they don't get to play in that private equity space. I mean, you could buy KKR. It's up almost 50% this year. Blackstone's up almost 80%. Is that the way to do it?
Well, so those investors unknowingly are starting to invest in private equity.
Yeah.
Because public equity funds are starting to buy private equity. And I don't think they belong there. That's chasing a hot dot. Okay. And I think we just had a moment with WeWork where the concept of the valuation is anything anybody will do a raise at. I think that's now going to be challenged. Companies are going to have to show that they are actual businesses with earnings and bright futures to get higher valuations. Sure, you should be able to get higher returns, but we have to be honest about private equity. It's a long-term play. Yeah. It's illiquid, and it's not certain. Just because today's returns are high, what we know about private equity, on the average, it gets good returns. But vintage year by vintage year, those returns are spread pretty dramatically. Mm-hmm. So inevitably, what happens to the everyday investor? They go in after the return, chase the hot dot, get the lower return. What we're trying to do is bring stability and move them where the money isn't.
Right. Well, the other very important point, and I know you know this well, is the idea of not all private equity funds are created equal. And once you get out of that top quartile, you may be looking at a fund that, isn't delivering much at all, if anything. A great conversation. We love having you back. Leo Kelly, founder, chief executive officer, and co-chief investment officer.
Is he like a cousin or
a
relative here?
No.
Come on, you guys can tell me.
If we were, I'd be the shirt-tail cousin part of this family. He's based down in Baltimore, here with us in New York City today. We're going to have the close coming up in just a few minutes. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week.
It's another Thursday evening, yet another cold day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick to see spectacular coral reefs and white sand beaches. Fly from London Gatwick to Mauritius with British Airways, with flights and 7 nights hotel from just £949 per person. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun. With British Airways, incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
NFL fans, hear every live game on TuneIn Premium.
Toss to the right, throws to the end zone, caught by Fells!
15, 10, 5, touchdown, Green Bay!
Today, for your Halloween, hear the home and away call as the San Francisco 49ers visit the Arizona Cardinals at 8:20 p.m. Eastern.
Back, what a block! Touchdown for Tevin Coleman going the other way! Touchdown!
At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today. TuneIn would like to congratulate the 2019 World Series champion Washington Nationals.
Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books! The celebration is on! The Washington Nationals are the world champions!
Before the game, I said, hey, I want you guys to just treat this as just another game. One more 1-0, and they did that tonight.
To catch all the exciting sports that TuneIn has, make sure to search sports today.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
College football is live on TuneIn. Listen for free to games from more than 140 schools all season long.
To the 10, all the way to the checkerboard.
It is the annual Florida-Georgia College Football Showdown. This year, there are more than just bragging rights on the line. With both teams ranked in the top 10, will it be the Gators or Bulldogs leaving Jacksonville on top of the SEC East and in the driver's seat for the conference championship? Find out this Saturday with kickoff starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Search college football to listen.
Capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Bloomberg World Headquarters. I'm Charlie Pellet. Down Thursday, folks, from 3 a.m. ringing that closing bell, and it is on to the trading month of November. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all declined today. Weak manufacturing data and renewed concern on trade, rattling markets, adjusting to the Federal Reserve signal that it is done easing. Treasuries, gold, and the yen rose. The 10-year up 23.30 seconds with a yield of 1.68%. Gold higher by 1.1%, 15.1165 the ounce. Equities lower across the board. We did finish well off our session lows. S&P down 9 to 3,037. That was a drop today of 0.3%. The Dow lower by 140 points, have been down roughly 250, a drop today of just about 0.5%. NASDAQ lower by 11, a decline there of 0.1%. Now, as for the overall market backdrop, Leo Kelly is the CEO, co-chief investment officer at Verdance Capital Advisors. He was our guest moments ago right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
We're constructively positive, but we're mindful that valuations are about where they should be to slightly elevated. This is an active market. You have to be active in this market. There's value. Emerging markets look interesting. International looks interesting. Small over large. There are places to put money.
And while it was a down day, Apple shares advanced after yesterday's earnings report. Apple shares up by 2.3%. Facebook after earnings up by 1.8%. Last night, Lyft reported earnings. Its shares dropped today, tumbling 6%. Uber also declining today, reports next week. Uber shares dropping by just about 6.7%. Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic Holdings getting off to a rocky start as the first publicly traded space tourism company. Shares have yet to post a daily gain since the IPO. Shares moving lower again today. Uses the ticker SPCE, down by 11.3%. Recapping, the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all declined today, with the S&P down 9, a drop of 0.3%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Wild thing, think you move me.
I got a few moves I know you'll like.
Shake it, blue thing, shake it, blue thing, yeah.
Vodka martini, shaken, not stirred.
Just move on toward your destination.
I can make things move without touching them.
Shaking all over.
Bloomberg Business Week, Movers and Shakers, with Carol Mazur and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
Yes, indeed. Time for a look at some of the movers and shakers on this Thursday. Busy Thursday. Headline crossing just at the closing bell. Amgen to take a 20.5% stake in Beigene, I think it is. Forgive me. It's Beigene. So I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. But anyway, Amgen to take a 20.5% stake. It's worth about $2.7 billion. Let me just take a quick check at Amgen here in the after hours. That company is unchanged. As for...
I think it may be Beigene.
Beigene.
Because it's a Chinese company.
Thank you very much.
So
yep.
I think that would make sense. I could be wrong.
I appreciate the assist. By the way, Beigene, its ADRs were halted pending news dissemination, but it looked like the stock was up maybe just about 7% prior to it, or just as that news came out. It doesn't look like it's begun trading yet.
Yeah, we'll bring you an update as that trading gets underway. Just taking a look at the S&P, Carol, you had, as you said, sort of a pretty broad sell-off, although sort of coming back toward the end. Trade certainly seemed to be a worry for this market. Probably can't forget impeachment as well with that House vote coming. Talking to Sean Donnan, it was interesting to hear this rather... I don't know how I would describe it. I mean, a little bit of like a sort of an Eeyore approach now to trade. It's like, well, we may get phase one done, but there may not be much more than that. And, we're looking at a pretty long road there. And yet, it feels like the market and maybe specific companies, and I think you've made this point, are starting to make decisions and essentially say, all right, they're going to get this little mini deal done. They're probably just going to keep fighting over it. we're going to have an economic, sort of global economic decoupling between the U.S. and China, and we're going to make plans accordingly.
We got to move on.
You know,
right? We got to run a business.
We're going to maybe move some supply chains around, and it does feel like, you know, those are the sorts of decisions that ultimately are going to get made.
Hey, I just want to mention, I do have some earnings crossing Pinterest, and that stock's getting killed in the after hours. It's down about 19% here. This is after the company, I believe, revenues missed forecast, and so that stock is down, like I said, bouncing around, but it looks like it's right now down about 18% here in the after hours. Let's see, and their third quarter revenue, that was a miss, $279.7 million versus $282.1. And so let's see, third quarter loss, it was 23 cents a share. Third quarter monthly active users, this is important, 322 million. That's above the estimate that was put out there by analysts. And that stock went public this year. I forgot. That was one of the ones, right, that IPO'd. That stock is down 19% so far this year. And so it looks like it's going to get beaten up big time, potentially. Certainly it's happening already in the after hours, but look for it to trade pretty rapidly and on the move in the Friday session.
Yeah, it was one of the unicorns that actually got out.
That's right.
I just want to point you to Kraft Heinz. Those shares higher today, higher prices, maybe helping a rebound there. They've got a new CEO, Miguel Patricio. When he said back in August that he hadn't developed a comprehensive strategy yet, investors just really sold off the stock, but it's now at its highest point since early August. So 3 months in, people are giving him a bit of a more positive report card, raising prices on cold cuts and cream cheese. That's important.
Good to know. Cold cuts and cream cheese. Nah, I wouldn't eat them together. Hey, Live Nation is also out with its latest earnings. That stock's unchanged in the after hours. Third quarter revenue, that's a miss, $3.77 billion versus $4.09 billion expected. Third quarter adjusted operating income, $427.1 million. That is better than forecast. And it's, like I said, that stock, let me just take a look. It's actually rallied this year. It's up more than 43%. But again, investors are taking it, they're leaving it alone, unchanged here in the after hours. So we'll see if we get any kind of movement.
Quick look at volatility. The VIX up 7.2%, closing at 13.22. This is Bloomberg.
All right, Dave, you're up.
Hi, my name is Dave.
Wilson, where are you? Wilson!
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
We're going for a price on Wilson.
Open up the door. It's Dave. Who? Dave.
Hey, Mr. Wilson!
Hey, Mr. Wilson. Dave Wilson back with us in our Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. What you like for a stock?
Alamo Group, Jason. That's stock of the day anyhow. Company refers to itself as a company for all seasons on its website. Here's why. Alamo makes truck and tractor mounted mowers, street sweepers, snow plows, and other machinery. Most of its business is industrial, and the rest is agricultural. Alamo has been around since 1969 and has been publicly traded since 1993. The ticker is ALG. Now, the company's shares gained more than 14-fold from a March 2009 low through yesterday, when they set a record. Alamo's climb was rudely interrupted by third quarter results released late yesterday. Earnings unexpectedly dropped from a year ago, and revenue trailed analysts' average estimate in a Bloomberg survey. Now, Alamo said in a statement that softening demand in the industrial unit and falling sales of farm machinery hurt the quarter's performance. The company added that some of the issues it saw last quarter, quote, are likely to continue for at least the balance of the year. Now, the results and outlook sent Alamo shares to their biggest plunge since February 1999.
Is this ALG?
Indeed. They tumbled 17.5%.
They're still up 38% this year.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how much of a run they've had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like prior to this, right?
The pride of Seguin, Texas, right outside San Antonio. I was wondering where that was. Sort of in the hill country. I believe that's how.
Seguin.
Seguin, Seguin.
Yes.
There you go.
Maybe on.
All right. Dave Wilson, thank you so much for your stock and earlier your chart of the day. You'll be back with us tomorrow to set the agenda and your chart and your stock. Well, coming up, I can't wait to get Shira Ovaday's hot take on the latest going on with Twitter and Facebook. She's got some thoughts.
I got to tell you, I'm going to do the introduction to her because, man, the headlines that she has been writing, man, you cannot miss them, and it makes you want to just read her column, and it certainly doesn't hide her feelings. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Back over to Bob Moon, though, for World of Nat.
Carol, the Democratic majority in the House enacted a rule book for the forthcoming open hearings into whether President Trump engaged in impeachable conduct. Bloomberg's Irv Chapman reports from Capitol Hill.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi presided.
The yeas are 232. The nays are 196.
Chairman Adam Schiff defended the fairness of the rules.
When we move into open session, both parties will have an equal opportunity to question any witnesses that are called.
Republican Lee Zeldin insisted the president's demand for an investigation of the Ukrainian gas company will be vindicated.
I don't believe Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, should be immune from scrutiny just because Joe Biden is running for president. And if that's not illegal, it should be illegal.
On Capitol Hill, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
What about the elderly when the power is intentionally cut off for days to avoid sparking wildfires in California? Governor Gavin Newsom visited seniors in Napa Valley, where power cuts have dragged on all week. Newsom said losing power can be a health hazard for those who depend on medical devices, and he promised the way utilities are managing fire risk is going to change.
This is not the new normal. This cannot take 10 years to resolve. We will hold them accountable.
Disabled seniors at a low-income apartment complex north of San Francisco were terrified being trapped in total darkness. Some were injured when they fell and tripped over others in a stairwell. Some got disoriented in their own apartments and cried out for help. Elected officials and customers have complained bitterly over PG&E's poor communication and lack of real-time estimates of when the power might go back on. Global News 24 hours a day, on air, and TikTok, on Twitter. I'm Bob Moon.
You can't be the only one who spends time examining angles.
This sort of mini deal, what would it look like?
Considering possibilities.
From a credit perspective, this is good news.
Planning for eventualities.
This company really has to get back on a growth track.
You're right. The others are here.
General Electric is such an interesting story.
Bloomberg Markets with Lisa Abramowitz and Paul Sweeney. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern. On Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Open calendar. What's my schedule looking like?
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an emergency flash flood between Park and First Street.
What? No, that doesn't work. I'm busy then. Decline. Decline.
Floods don't exactly work around your schedule. Disasters don't plan ahead. But you can. It starts with talking to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. So don't wait. Communicate. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
What if you could keep the top economic experts in a conference room next to your office without having to feed them?
Do we need better optics? Do we need some substance? Do CEOs care about ESG?
We have seen quite a lot of stimulus pumped into the system already.
It's the biggest warning yet about the financial risks of climate change.
Now there are more ways to hear us. Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business, Radio.com, and iHeartRadio apps, and at BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and
It's another Thursday evening, yet another cold day. So ditch the British winter and chase the sun across the globe with British Airways from London Gatwick to enjoy a warm Bayesian welcome.
How are you doing? Enjoying the sunshine?
Fly from London Gatwick to Barbados with British Airways, with flights and 7 nights hotel from just £699 per person. Don't miss out. Book by November the 12th at ba.com/wintersun with British Airways. Incredible is within reach. Booking fees and conditions may apply. Limited availability. Selected flights in March.
TuneIn would like to congratulate the 2019 World Series champion Washington Nationals.
Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books! The celebration is on. The Washington Nationals are the world champions.
Before the game, I said, hey, I want you guys to just treat this as just another game. One more 1-0, and they did that tonight.
To catch all the exciting sports that TuneIn has, make sure to search Sports Today.
Hi, this is Brian Weber, host of NFL First and Goal every Sunday, kicking off at 1 Eastern only on TuneIn Premium. Be sure to listen this Sunday for the ultimate football fan experience, featuring 7 hours of commercial-free coverage of every scoring play around the NFL.
Far wing, elevates, triple bucket.
The roar of the crowd. The shot clock ticks down. Will the ball go in? The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. And the replays just don't cut it.
To the sideline, the man fleet for 3.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season streaming live, so you can be there when it matters most. Hear it now, hear it live on TuneIn.
Fake in the lane, turnaround jumper from 8 feet is good on the right.
Search NBA today to start listening.
Good. Here's a swing and a drive deep to right field. Looking up. Goodbye, baseball.
Between game-winning shots and walk-off homers, follow TuneIn on social media to discover the latest and greatest in live sports.
With the 24th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft.
From live reminders that the biggest MLB games are on the air, to recommendations of the best new sports talk shows and podcasts.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be good right away in 3 years.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Ah, finally another commercial, said no one ever. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade now and get over 45 commercial-free music stations.
Celebrating Halloween quietly this year? Give yourself a spook with TuneIn's Scary Stories podcast collection. Venture deep into the night as you learn about the origin of vampires in America with the Lore podcast.
In a lot of ways, it's just a gourd. Every year during the Halloween season, millions of people go out and buy their own.
And go deep inside the minds of serial killers with My Favorite Murder.
The story that I told last week about Ronnie Chasen's murder, her shooting death, was taken entirely from an article.
Or if you dare, you can visit a mysterious desert town where strange and devious things are frequently known to happen with Welcome to Night Vale.
A friendly desert community where the sun is hot, the moon is beautiful, and mysterious lights pass overhead while we all pretend to sleep.
Search Scary Stories on TuneIn to freak yourself out this Halloween.
ESPN Radio and TuneIn just go hand in hand. Hi, this is Mel Kiper Jr. reminding you that all of your favorite ESPN Radio shows and events are right here on TuneIn. Just search ESPN Radio to begin enjoying it today.
Breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Bloomberg World Headquarters. I'm Charlie Pellet, developing story. Just getting word that President Trump's Treasury Department is moving to weaken corporate inversion rules. Again, developing story. Treasury moving to weaken corporate inversion rules. Pinterest shares plunging. It reported revenue for the third quarter that trailed the average analyst estimate. Shares plunging now in Pinterest by 17.9%. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all lower today. S&P down 9 to 3,037, a drop there of 0.3%. The Dow tumbling 140 points, down 0.5. NASDAQ lower by 11, a drop of 0.1%. 10 years up 25-30 seconds. The yield 1.68%. Gold up 1.1% today, $15.12 the ounce. And West Texas Intermediate crude down 1.7%, $54.15 a barrel. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks so much. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
Listen to this, everyone. Twitter CEO slays Facebook's free speech argument. Twitter upstages Facebook with a ban on political ads. Shira, tell us how you really feel. Shira Ovide is here. She's our Bloomberg opinion columnist covering technology.
Too subtle for you, Carol?
No, I love it. I totally love it. What did you make of this? Obviously, we know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I give Twitter some credit
for taking, kind of a bold stand to basically say they were no longer going to allow political candidates to buy ads on Twitter, nor would they any groups to purchase ads on Twitter that would promote their views on kind of hot button national issues, so healthcare, abortion, gun control, immigration, and so on.
And the timing, of course, was not accidental. Facebook earnings had just hit the wire. Jack Dorsey, he's not a dumb guy, put out that tweet, stole some thunder, and really put it on Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook to, if not answer in kind, to at least answer. And what have you heard from them? Because there's been a little bit of tap dancing, shall we say?
No, I don't think there has been tap dancing. Look, I think for the last few weeks, Facebook has just sort of faced the continuous questions about their political ads policy. And look, you can argue pro or against it. I don't actually know whether it's a good idea for there to be political candidate ads online in the way that anybody does it. But what Facebook has said is we think that political speech should be unchecked on Facebook, and that means that candidates can say whatever they want, either in paid or unpaid messages, and that Facebook believes that the way to sort of heal the problem of politicians saying things that are false or misleading is for everybody to see those false and misleading statements in black and white and be able to kind of see for themselves what the people are saying to voters.
I'm kind of like torn with this because I too, like after because somebody's tweeted at me and said, okay, so we should ban the president off Twitter. And I said, well, I'm a big believer in freedom of speech. And we know that when the president tweets, it's coming from him or from he and his team. I know where it's coming from, right? And I can make a judgment call about, or we all can, about how we feel about that. So I feel like this is a tricky area. The thing is, and I think you put this in your column, Shira, this was an easy thing for Twitter to do. That politically, in terms of financially, right, they don't do a lot of political ads.
Yeah, I think that we can't ignore the pragmatism of this decision, that it's an easy thing for Jack Dorsey to do. That Twitter is relatively insignificant as a place for political ad spending. Their ad model is just not very targeted. Their audience is not very large relative to Facebook and Google. And so they get annual ad spending that is a tiny fraction of Facebook and Google. So it's a little bit easier to take a principled stand, right, when you're not really giving up that much money.
Yeah. And so what are the implications for this more broadly in Silicon Valley or in the tech world, do you think? Because I was of this moment, but, all of us, I think, have been talking to everyone we know in Silicon Valley and saying, all right, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And what's the broader context for this techlash that just like we were talking about private equity in the context of the election, this is going to be a big issue in the election, this sort of role of technology in our lives, not just in elections, but sort of how we wrestle with these companies that have so much power.
Look, I think the last few years, for good reasons, has been just a reevaluation about the role of internet in our personal lives and in our public discourse. And I don't think there are necessarily easy answers, but it's definitely true that people are, again, justifiably asking hard questions about what has been the role of online discourse in making things either better or worse. And should we think differently about just the frictionless way that anyone can say anything at any moment online to an audience potentially of billions of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is an argument that there is a democratization going on here, that there are people who can be heard who previously were not because they didn't have access to a much narrower set of communications tools.
Well, think about during the Middle East uprisings. We thought, what a great thing, the Arab Spring.
Right.
The online universe helped create
Technology enabled that.
Yeah,
right?
that was a great thing, and I see that argument. But I do worry about, if I printed something in a magazine or a newspaper and I was making up stuff, there would be a legal case against me, right? There's liabilities to that. So, what are the liabilities of online, especially as we increasingly all get our information there?
I think this is just a reckoning that inevitably happens when there's a new technology, that at first we see the good stuff that comes of it, right? That it does give people voice and power that they didn't have before. And now we're reckoning with the downside to that, whether it's, people being addicted to their phones, or kids that are getting bullied on Instagram, right, or, terrorist groups or politicians being able to spread messages and misinformation online. It's just, this is the flip side of things like the Arab Spring.
Just 20 seconds. So by Jack Dorsey, by doing this, has he kind of pushed the conversation along?
I think he has. I think he's basically put more pressure